Hello again. We're going to continue on now, still using this same three-color LED, but we're going to use it to show you a cool demonstration of something called pulse width modulation, or PWM. That's going to be real important for us down the road as we start building more robots, or actually get our robot moving, because we are going to be starting off with DC motors, and we can control the speed of a DC motor by pulsing the motor, or pulsing the chip that drives the motor. And the faster we pulse it, the faster the motor goes. The slower we pulse it, the slower the motor goes. So it gives us some variable speed, which is hard to do with a DC motor any other way. But we can also do with PWM, and which is what we're going to do right now, is we can use it simply to dim lights. Okay, and we're going to use this same LED, and we're going to work on a piece of code using PWM that'll dim it. Now, before we do that, we have to find out which pins are capable of PWM. Not all of them are. If we look at the chip, the TNC 3.1, we can see that 3, 4, 5, and 6 are pulse width modulated. 9 and 10 can do PWM, and 20 through 23 are capable of PWM. We're going to go ahead and use, we'll use 3, 4, and 5, which, notice, it starts off with the ground, so we have to give a space, 4 empty spaces before we get to pin 3. Alright, so let's jump back, and let me go ahead and wire this up, and then we'll do a piece of code. So I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And plug that back in the ground. Okay. And now we're set up and ready to do some code. So let's just do that from scratch, because it's a pretty straightforward piece of code. We'll open up a new window. And let's start off with some little comment here. So remember, this is dimming LED by Patton in October 2014. Let's throw in another line. Feel free to use this. Gosh, I can't spell today. This code for whatever. Okay. And we know from our previous codes we should have at least a void setup region and a void loop. Alright, so let's go right back up here. What do we have to do? We have to first tell the chip what pin we're going to use. Let's just dim one light first off. Let's just dim, let's create a variable, or a constant. We'll call it constant integer red. I'll make that capital. And it's equal to 3, because we hooked that up pin 3. And setup. What do we got to do? We got to tell it to make the port, or the pin that it's hooked up to, as an output. So that's a pin mode command, and it's going to be red, and we want an output. Okay, and down here, what we want to do is we want to make this thing fade. So we want to go from a low value to a high value. We've played with the 4, which works out really nice. Let's use the 4 to go from the low value, let's say 0. Let's make a local variable. We'll call it fade. Okay. Let's make it equal to 0, and a maximum value. This is going to be an 8-bit function, so the biggest number we can get to is 255. So let's make it fade is less than or equal to 255. And what do we want to do? We want to go from 0 to 255, so that would be a fade plus plus. Looks pretty good to me. A couple brackets, close it in. And what are we going to do? So to get it to do a PWM, we have to do something called analog write. We've done digital write, which is just yes, no, high, low. In PWM, we want to do an analog write. So let's do an analog write. We want to analog write to the pin red, and we want to put in the value of fade. Okay. And we want to then put in a little delay. How about 10 milliseconds, so we get a chance to sort of see it. Alright, that looks good. Now the next thing we want to do, this should in theory go from off all the way up to the brightest point of 255 in increments of 1, and write it out to the pin, the value, and we get a little 10 millisecond delay. Let's now go from 255 to 0. Now we want to go to greater than or equal to, and of course we don't want to add, we want to subtract the value. That looks the same and this looks the same. I think we should be at a point now where it should do something. We should be able to see this light up a pin. Look at that. It gets brighter, dimmer, brighter, dimmer. Okay? And if you don't believe me that it's actually working, we'll make it obnoxious. Let's go with like 25. This is going to be real slow, but we won't keep it there. We'll just do it once for snickers and giggles. And now you can see, even though my camera is saturating, that it's fading up and down nice and slowly. Too slowly for us to sit around and watch. Let's bring that back down to 10. Look at that. There we go. And let's bring this back down to 10. I can't type. Okay. Let's comment this. So I'm going to put in here the pin the LED is connected to. And this is going to be set the pin direction to output. Okay. We're going to increment the variable fade from 0 to 255, and we're gonna output the value of fade, and here we're gonna delay for 10 milliseconds, and then this is going to be let's just say D. I gotta go a little bit faster here. It's gonna take too long. And then this is going to be the same. Output the value. And this is going to be the same. Okay. So now to get the other pins, we're at 9 minutes. Let's go quickly here. All we have to do is clone this stuff. Okay? So let's take this one. Control C. And we're going to clone it 2 more times. We're going to take this and change it to green. And we know it's hooked up to pin 4. We're going to change this to pin to blue. We know it's hooked up to pin 5. Let's clone this. And we're going to make the green pin output and the blue pin output, and let's actually clone. I'm going to bring that 4 in a little bit, like that. Okay, let's clone all of this. Two more times. And so there's our first one. Our second one, we want to change this to green and this to green and this to blue and this to blue. Load it up. Oh, what did I do? I've done something wrong here. Simple thing, no doubt. Yes. How did I delete that? Alright, and since I copied and pasted it, I probably did that more than once. Let's see. I did. And I probably did it up here. I think it was when I was changing that 25, I accidentally deleted it. Alright. Red, green, blue. I'm going to make this a little easier to read. I'm going to put a big this is the red dimming section, and copy that so we can separate these a little bit. This is the green dimming section, and this is the blue dimming section. All right, awesome. Okay, so let's save it, and actually I'm going to overwrite the one that I was just playing with, which is this one. Oh heavens, come on, open up. Okay, cool. So I think the next one we're still gonna play with this LED one more time because I'm gonna give you a challenge, and then we're gonna see if you can solve it, and then I'll show you how I solved it. So I will see you soon.